Good morning, everyone. Jose J. Garcia, real estate investor coach and mentor. By my side, I have Chris Franco, which we're bringing him on here in a second. But it is me, your speakers continues. So, the one shadow event that we have coming up October 1st, a lot of people are inquiring about that. Some people have signed up. A lot of people are waiting to sign up, waiting to the last minute. I'm going to tell you now, the seats are limited. Seats are not going to last, and we will fill the event. This is a 2-day event that we're going to hold down in Warner Robins, Georgia. First day event is all day coaching. That's what we do. Mobile home investing, mobile home investors. We're here to coach you, mentor you, and get you to success. Okay. The first day, it is an all day just coaching, back to back. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, it is back to back just coaching in classroom sitting. Second day, it is not mandatory, but as I've told many people, it is something you want to push to be there. Day number 2 is where we take you out to the field and actually show you step by step how I and my team invest in mobile homes. The things we look for, okay? Contractors, handyman, park managers, park owners, all are going to be at the event on day number 2. Day number 1, we're going to have guest speakers. We're going to have Chris here, who's going to be talking about insurance here in a minute. I'm going to switch my camera here in a second as well, because I want to talk about the insuring your assets, which is one thing that a lot of people fail to do so until it is too late. So we're going to talk about that. A lot more announcements towards the end, so stay tuned for that. But without further, Chris, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Jay. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Chris, you are the meet your speakers because you are going to be at the event on October 1st, the shadow event, which you're going to be talking about insurance. Now, you've been our go-to guy for, I want to say, over a year now. We did used to work with other insurance companies where obviously whether we had rentals, rent to owns, rehabs, all this, all the above, you got to insure your mobile home. Guys, if you're listening in, I know Instagram, y'all are tuning in. That's not an option. That's not something you kind of try to get away from. Penny pinching your way out of something like that could end up costly. These are the things that happen because life happens. And Chris is going to talk about policies and why you should insure your mobile homes, but protecting your asset is key number 1 to investing. So, Chris, tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Christopher Franco. I work with Aplusinsurance. It is a family-owned and operated business. We have been around for a little bit over 15 years. We're in the Atlanta area. We're in Ackworth. We're in Forest Park. We're in Duluth, Decula, Augusta, Marietta. We're all over. We have about 10 branches all over the greater Atlanta area, and we do property and casualty insurance. I personally specialize mostly in commercial side of things. That's dealing with you guys, rental units, general liability, workers' comp, builders risk, you name it, business owner policies, anything under the sun. So about 80% of my day every day is dedicated to commercial insurance specifically, and I also do personal lines. Of course, I do homeowners, auto insurance, rental, the whole 9 yards. You name it, I do it. You name it, I've seen it. And it is extremely important for everyone to have insurance on their property. You know, you're putting in a lot of time, money, effort, energy into your investment. You're signing up with Jay. You're making the commitment to bettering yourself and getting yourself a better future. So if you're going to purchase a property, you need to have insurance on it at the time of closing. You should
Yes.
have a quote ready to go probably the week before you close on the property. So you can call me. My cell phone number is 404-725-0807. We can post this up for you. I'm sure Jay has a link he can put it. My office phone is 678-812-4325. And my website is aplusinsurance.biz. Um, so we can jump right into it. There's
Absolutely. No,
different.
and absolutely. We're going to put the, and guys, this is why you want to come out also. We can definitely connect you with Chris. Chris is our go-to guy. Any of our students that come in and part of the investing, when I'm coaching them, we're not taking another step. You're going to call Chris, you're going to get insurance on your mobile home, and then we'll proceed. Okay. Again, life happens. And if Chris is good enough for us, GMHU, he's good enough for you. So we'll definitely get you the contact on that. But you need to come out to the event and learn how to invest and connect and network with Chris while at the event. So, Chris, you mentioned a lot of the areas, and I know y'all are in multiple locations here in the Georgia area, but you do insure in other states as well, right?
Yes, we are licensed in pretty much the Southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana. We are currently in the process of getting our license for Florida. I didn't previously have my license, but I get so many calls. I get at least 10 or 12 calls a week from people in Florida. I told my team, I said, guys, we can't afford not to be licensed in Florida. So I expect to have that non-resident license probably next week. We've already put in the applications. At this point, it's just getting finalized. And then once I'm got my non-resident license, I already have the markets. As an independent agency, there's two types of agencies. There's a captive agency and an independent agency. A captive agency is like Allstate or State Farm. You know, they only offer one company and they're contractually obligated to write all their policies through one company. Me as an independent agency, I have contracts with Travelers, Foremost, Dairyland, Nationwide. It's like 100 different companies that I go out and I reach out to them and I say, hey, I want to write business for you guys, and I get the contract. So when I'm quoting you guys, I have experience knowing who has the best coverage for what type of property. I'm only choosing the cream of the cream. I'm going to choose the best product from each company. And so when people call me to get a quote, I already know what's to go to, where I'm going to be quoting these items.
There you go. And two things that Chris mentioned right there, and that's the reason why we dropped the previous insurance. I'm not going to name the list, and there's nothing wrong with them, but Chris has the experience and Chris cares. Chris is part of the team, and Chris cares about going out and finding you the best, not just making that sale, closing you out. He's going to make sure that he gets you the best policy under the right insurance that you need. So, Chris, this past week we had two homes that both had trees fall on them. One of them was an investor. He's not a student of ours yet. I hope he comes over, and of course we can coach him. We always welcome people into that. But just in talking, same community we're dealing with, I kept telling him, hey, you need to get insurance. Make sure you get your insurance. It's a lot of trees, and things happen kind of thing. I kind of played it off, and it is what it is. A lot of people don't listen until it's too late. And I kept telling him, and sure enough, there was bad weather that one evening, and a tree fell right in the middle. It is not this mobile home, actually, it's another mobile home, but right in the middle of it as he was starting his rehab. I have not heard from him since. I've checked on him. He's fine. He wasn't living in it. Nobody was there. But I know that aggravation that comes with, oh my gosh, I wish I would have. Don't be the guy or the lady who wish I would have. Okay. Get it done. It's part of, and it has to be done. Look, allocate it as part of your expenses, part of your rehab, because it has to happen. If Lord forbid a tree falls through it, you got insurance that covers you and backs up your asset. So, Chris, let's talk about policies. Because we have, obviously, if you're a landlord and you want to continue to rent on to, a tenant, that's one policy that you have. But the majority of the students that we send them to you are obviously beforehand. Let's get a rehab going. Contractors are coming in. Talk about that policy on more so on a pre-mobile home.
Well, the majority of you guys are going to be getting a dwelling quote, which is, like you said, a landlord quote or a commercial rental quote. Even if you're don't have a tenant currently living in it, if you're not the one that's actually living in it, it's going to be called a dwelling policy. Okay. As long as you're doing basic rehabs, and when I say by that is cosmetic mostly, nothing structural. If you're doing light rehabs, paint, kitchen cabinets, tile floors, stuff like that, you're perfectly fine having that under a dwelling policy, which is going to be the most affordable option. However, another type of policy that I think you're leading into is called a builder's risk policy. A builder's risk policy is because your dwelling policy is not going to cover a heavy rehab. What I mean by heavy rehab is you're replacing the whole roof. You're adding on additional rooms. You are completely rewiring or replumbing it. Those are more heavy rehabs that require a different type of policy called a builder's risk. So those are just two basic types. Most of you guys are going to be doing lighter rehabs where you're not doing structural changes. You're not replacing the roof. you're going in there and you're doing a light rehab, whether it be paint, floors, kitchen cabinets, anything that's not changing the structure of the property is typically not going to necessarily need a builder's risk quote. But if you do need a builder's risk quote, I'll ask you questions. What are your intentions with the property? And some people get a little frustrated because I ask a lot of questions, guys, but that's my job. I got to make sure, like Jay said, that you're properly covered. So if I hit you with 100 questions, I'm sorry. But if you don't know any of the answers, that's always fine. I can come back to it. But I'm going to ask you questions about what you're doing with the property, what your intentions are. Is this going to be a long-term rental? Is this going to be a quick flip? What is it exactly that you want to be doing with this property? So I can make sure I have the right type of policy for you. And to go back to what you were saying, I see you got the picture of the tree through the trailer. This happens all the time, guys. It happens all the time. I have a friend, not even a business relationship, but a friend who reached out to me. He says, "Hey, I know you do insurance. I bought these 4 properties in Macon, Georgia, and I want to make sure I got them covered." So I went through the whole process. I gave him a quote. Um, for all 4 units, I think it was like $200 a month, something like that. He says, "Wow, that's really expensive. I don't think I'm gonna do it. I don't think I'm gonna do it." He said, "My contractor has insurance. My contractor has insurance." I said, "That's great. Your contractor has insurance. That's great. But guess what? If a tree falls in your unit, guess what? Insurance is not going to pay for it. Your contractor's insurance. Your contractor has insurance to cover their own butt, which means it's only going to kick in if they made a mistake that directly caused damage to your unit. If they didn't make a mistake that caused damage to your unit, in no way, shape, or form is their insurance going to cover your property. And the same thing goes for a renter's policy. If you have a tenant that's in your unit and they have a renter's policy or a tenant policy, that is there to cover 2 things: their property inside the unit and liability. Liability, so if their dog bites somebody, their insurance will cover that. So it protects you as the landlord for them to have that policy in place. But it's no way, shape, or form going to protect your unit if a tree comes crashing down through it. So just because you have a tenant with a renter's policy, do not confuse that and think that your property is protected. You
Yeah,
have to have your
and
own.
again, that goes back to the trying to penny pinch away. You're trying to save on something that's going to cost you a lot more later on. Should you just pay that? So don't confuse your policies. Definitely, your contractor's insurance has nothing to do with your home. Should life happen in this case, okay? The policies aren't there. A renters for insurance, we do push up on that as well, but it does not keep us from also having insurance on the property. Now, you mentioned a couple prices on 4 units, 4 houses for a friend of yours. So I know every unit is different. Every deal's investment is different, obviously. But on average, what do you typically see a policy going for on a mobile home before rehab?
On average, we're talking about 500, between 400 and $700 a year for a dwelling policy for a rental unit, or a unit that you are not personally living in. I say rental because that's what it falls under if you're not the primary person living there. So I typically between 400 and $700 a year, which ends up being like 50 bucks a month. The one I
I'll,
mentioned earlier, not a mobile home. It was a actual building structure, and it was 4 different units on a big property, and he was doing a full renovation. I'm talking roof, plumbing, electric, uh, kitchen, bath, the whole 9 yards from top to bottom. So that was a builder's risk quote. But typically, you guys are going to be getting a dwelling policy with me, and the dwelling policy is going to cover cosmetic renovations, minor renovations. You don't have to worry about it unless you're doing something major. And like I said, yeah, it's typically between $400 and $700 a year. I just did a quote for one yesterday. It was a brand new mobile unit, 2022, 14 by 80 in Decatur, Georgia. And it was, I think it was $650 for the whole year. So,
wow.
and obviously you don't have to pay that all at the same time. These guys have different payment plans. I'll get into that with you when I quote you. But yeah, that's typically what you can expect to be seen.
650, and of course I'm doing the math over here because I love seeing these miniature numbers. So 650 on a brand new 2022. That's $54 a month, guys. I mean, again, it makes no sense. That is more than 650. I can assure you that you're talking about thousands now. Okay, thousands of that. Now, you start a rehab, and that's one thing that we get many times is let's go in and do a few cosmetics, a few touch-ups. We're not going to restructure anything crazy, but you have the oh my gosh kind of moments. Then that happens as well as an investor. So we come in and we realize that maybe it does need a roof, maybe it does need this, it needs extensive. So what you don't want to do also is confuse, like I said, the policies and try to make the policy fit what it's not. So in this case, let's say I reach out to Chris and say, Chris, hey, I got a mobile home, so and so forth. This is what we're doing. I get a policy based on that. But a few days later with my contractor, we figure out this is a lot bigger, extensive job than we thought. Now it's time to call Chris back and say, hey, I need to switch my policy. So talk about switching policies or upgrading, I guess, if that's what it would be.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple process. We never leave you without coverage. So we will not cancel your current policy until we have a replacement policy already in place. We typically do the switch simultaneously. So if it turns out that you don't need a dwelling policy, you do actually need a builder's risk policy, I'll work on the quote immediately. I pride myself on getting back to people quick. I know people hate waiting days at a time, weeks at a time just to get a quote. That's not going to happen with me. I'm either going to give you a quote the same day or the next day. And if I can't get to it, I have a team here with me, and I got qualified people who are just as experienced as me who can get back to you. So I'll make sure I'm getting back to you as quick as I can. And if I can't personally do it, which 90% of the time is going to be me reaching out to you, I have someone else on my team who's right here behind me, and they're familiar with the process. But yes, it's very easy to switch out those two policies, but you never want to have a lapse in coverage. Because if you're like me, you have no luck. And the one day you have a lapse in coverage is the day lightning's going to strike your property, and you're going to be yelling at the sky. And just one more thing I want to throw in there, guys. Back to penny pinching. I'm your agent. I represent you guys. So a lot of people like to lie to insurance companies to get the cheapest rate. I'm not the one you want to lie to, guys. You want to be upfront with me on what you guys are doing. Don't hide stuff from me, because I can't properly protect you if you're hiding details from me about what's really going on the property.
Absolutely. No, for sure. So, Chris, based upon when somebody calls you, you get all the details, information. Obviously, that's a little time there, but you're quick. Again, you're quick, proactive. You jump right on these things. You always call our people back. How quickly are you able to actually get a policy going based on the above?
Same day most of the time. Builder's risk, that can be a little bit longer of a turnaround. The builder's risk for the mobile home is more of a specific market. So sometimes that can take maybe 2 to 3 days to turn it around. But if it's a dwelling policy, which all the ones you've sent me recently, I'd say about 90% of them fall under the dwelling category. And those can be done the same day. They can be quoted the same day, and they can be bound the same day. It just depends on how soon I get all the information that I need. And the information that I need for a basic quote is very simple. It's the name of the individual, or if you're going to put it in your LLC, I need the corporation name, the address, obviously, the year, make, and model of the unit, the dimensions. I need to know if it's 14 by 80, 10 by 60. I need to know the square footage of it, because a lot of the time the price is based off of your square footage. And if it's inside a park, I like to know the name of the park, because a lot of times if it's an approved park, it gives you a discount on the price, and it makes it easier to write the policy. So if it's a park that's been around for a long time, most of the time they're going to be an approved park. So it's very simple information that I need. Cell phone, email, date of birth of the person who's
All the
responsible.
information that you need, you should have gotten in your bill of sale or your closing anyway. So, I mean, it's information that you can have, but be honest. Be honest with Chris. I mean, trying to lie again, people do that to try to save somehow. It's not going to save you. It's going to cost you problems down the road. Okay. Now, what would disqualify a mobile home? I get that question asked this, how do I know my mobile home will actually be qualified for insurance? That's not going to be qualified. Okay, that's supposed to matter. That's not going to happen. But what would keep a mobile home from being qualified for insurance?
Existing damage, like the tree behind you, I would have a hard time putting insurance on that. If somebody says, "Hey, I need a quote," and I say, "All right, hey, they're asking for a picture of it," and it comes out that it already has a problem with it, so that's going to automatically be disqualifying. And I'm not talking about minor cosmetic damage, guys. I'm talking about damage, a tree falling through it, lightning struck it last week, there's a hole in the wall from a fire that took place last week. Those are going to be harder. Or there's a big giant pit in the front of it, and there's spikes at the bottom of the pit. Anything that's obviously dangerous is going to be harder to insure. But as far as like a immediate disqualification, there's a market for just about everything, guys. As long as you're upfront with me on what's going on, there's a good chance I'm going to be able to find something for it, even if it's got something crazy going on with it. I know you had a unit the other day that you showed on your deals list that had a fire damage. Even I could get coverage for something like that. Of course, it's going to exclude the existing damage, but you don't want any further damage happening while you're working on it. So even something like that, give me enough time, give me details. I could find something for just about everyone. It's very rare that I'll tell you, I don't have nothing for you.
Glad to hear you tune into our Let's Do Deals, by the way. That's a call we have every Tuesday for y'all listening in. Does a year matter? That's another question. Is too old of an age, is that going to be a factor getting insurance?
Sometimes it is, but I haven't had anyone turn me down for a year recently. The oldest one I did recently was like a 1986 or something like that, and they still took it. Now the year does influence the type of coverage that you can get. There's two ways insurance companies will insure a property. Okay, there is what's called replacement cost value. Replacement cost value is how much it would be to replace your unit with the same exact style, length and width, and the same style, bedrooms, the whole apples to apples. That's called replacement cost. How much would it be to buy the same unit brand new of a very similar model, if not the exact same model that you have, if it's available? That's called replacement cost. So if you have a unit that's 15 years or younger, typically you're going to qualify for replacement cost. The other type of insurance is called actual cash value. Now, specifically roofs, you're typically not going to get replacement cost on any roof that's over 15 years old. And as far as the unit itself, I believe the cutoff is 20 or 25 years. I got to do some research, but it's 20 or 25 years for replacement cost. And then after that, it's going to be called actual cash value. Actual cash value is replacement cost minus depreciation. So they're going to pay you out what your unit is worth. A lot of people are confused and they think specifically for homeowners, home market is crazy right now. So a home that used to be worth 200,000 might have sold on the market for 350 recently. Insurance does not cover market value most of the time, 99% of the time. It's either going to be replacement cost, which is how much it is to build it back exactly how it was in a home situation, in a non-mobile home, but a home situation, or actual cash value, which is replacement cost minus depreciation. I could go on and on about this, guys, but to circle back to your original question is, typically the year is not going to matter that much unless it's 50 years old, 40 years old, like really getting up there for a mobile home age. But all of the leagues that you've sent me lately, they're typically, I haven't got anything older than like 1980. I haven't seen anything come through older than that. And it hasn't been a problem. They'll insure it for actual cash value most of the time. And I'll be straight up with you on what to expect.
Absolutely. No, no. Everybody we've sent you, you've been able to put policies on them. So that's been very grateful for us as well here at GMHU. So one last question before we go. I know we're winding down at 30 minutes, goes quick. So worst case scenario. Okay, I do have it insured. I'm living in it or I'm rehabbing it and this happens. What is that process?
First, you're going to call me. You're gonna say, "Hey, I got a claim." I'm gonna say, "What happened?" I'm gonna get details from you. I'm gonna ask you for pictures, and then we're gonna jump on the phone together, and we're gonna call the insurance company, and we're gonna file that claim. Uh, Claims process, it just depends company to company and situation to situation. I can't give you a 100% finite timeline on the claims process because it's out of my hands at that point. But I can tell you, it's typically resolved within between 30 days and 90 days is typically how long it takes to turn it around and get you, recovered. It just depends. It's very case by case scenario. But we're gonna jump on the phone. We're gonna call your claims department. They're gonna assign you a case number. They're gonna assign you a case representative. And anytime you need me to jump in there with you, I'll be there to hold your hand through the process. Just don't panic. This is why you have insurance. Stuff happens. I see it all the time. Jay sees it all the time.
There you go. And that's why you want to insure your assets. Life happens. It could be lightning, it could be a fire, it could be a tree. Hopefully, nobody gets hurt. That's the biggest thing. But the reality is things happen. Trees fall on mobile homes every other day. These are things we see. If you're investing in mobile homes, do not look at insurance as an extra cost. Look at it as a way to protect your asset because that's what you're doing. Put it part over your rehab, part of your numbers, and I assure you, $50 a month is not going to break you. That's going to break you. So things to kind of keep in mind. This is what Chris is going to be talking out at the event. Again, let me talk about that real quick. October 1st, Shadow Event. The Shadow Event is a 2-day event where you get to come out and connect with our team, connect with these speakers, talk to Chris there in person. There's a lot more he's going to cover at the event, but come out and network with like-minded people. It is going to be a room full of investors, realtors, brokers. I mean, everybody you name it. Come out and learn step by step how to invest in mobile homes. I was asked again for the many time, when is a good time to start investing in mobile homes? Yesterday, but you cannot go back, so start today. Take action, okay? Nothing works unless you do. Come out and network with us. Day number 2, we'll take you out to the field. I don't know we'll have any mobile homes like that to show you, but we are going to go inside, in and out of mobile homes being rehab, mobile homes distressed sitting, waiting for an investor, and mobile homes ready for the market. We'll go out and review mobile home parks, how to grade them. I mean, guys, this is a 2-day event. It is just back-to-back fire education for anybody getting started. If you're already investing into mobile homes, there is something we have for you as well. Does not matter what level you're into investing. JGarciaMHLive.com. Y'all can check out that link, but visit GarciaMHU.com to sign up for the event. We are limited seats available. We moved this event originally because we added an extra speaker to the event. We've added extra topics to the event, one of them being title and bonds. Biggest issue I'm hearing with mobile homes right now, and because so many more people are getting into it, is I don't have a title. I can't get a title. I don't know who owned it, et cetera, et cetera. I have 2 people lined up for next week getting coaching just on how to get a title so that they can sell their mobile home. That is the topic that I wanted to include into the Shadow event so I can teach you all. The bigger the problem you solve, the bigger your payday will be. And that's what is becoming more and more. Many people are giving mobile homes away simply because they have no titles. That is huge opportunities for you all if you know how to do that process. So a lot of things are going to be hand in hand on that. We do have an event down in Naples next weekend that we also added to. It is a level up event, and that's a networking event. There is no charge, no cost to that this first time around. It is an event that I want to put together and just bring like-minded people to network, to connect. Your network equals your net worth. So we're trying to really grow. We will be live in Naples. The specific location will be shared to all you who sign up for RSVP. You can send us an email on that as well. Chris, anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Yeah, I've done plenty of title bonds, so I can touch on that at the event as well. I typically do it for motor vehicles. It's a very simple process. I've done one for myself. I bought a toy side-by-side Polaris, and it didn't have a title. Went through the process. Pretty easy, guys. It's not a giant hurdle. We can definitely walk you through it, and I'll be happy to input if you wish for me to do so.
Absolutely. So we'll save that for the event. Like I said, it is just lining up more and more stuff that you want to learn. So definitely visit us, GarciaMHU.com. But that does it. This is Meet Your Speakers for the Shadow event. So we hope to see you all there and connect with you. Chris, thank you for joining me this Saturday morning.
Thank you for having me. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Have a good day.